Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. And for obvious reasons, things that are going on in the National Football League right now, we're going to call it our NFL free agent frenzy. You got to keep up with things. Every minute there's a tracker. Somebody's going to be moving. Things are changing. So we want to keep you up to date with those changes, the modifications to your favorite team's roster. We're going to look into that a little bit on today's show, along with Logan Landers, our producer and engineer. Our co-host and our founder is Vincent Turner. And Vincent, today we got a special guest with us. We got a little family in the house from the 901 from the Memphis area. Trey Sims joins us. Trey, thank you so much for being a part of the show today from Southwestern College, Community College. You're a Steelers guy, so we're going to talk a little bit about Steel City today, aren't we?
Well, yes. I appreciate you all for having me. Thank y'all.
You're very welcome. And Vincent, here's a young man. He's been to games there at Memorial Stadium there in Memphis. He understands how that group of five talent level exists and how they might end up in the draft coming up here in a month, what the significance will be of a guy that he's a 2 or 3 star, ends up going to Memphis, playing there, playing against some of the best competition, some non-conference games, and kids like that get a chance to play at the National Football League level. Memphis is loaded with guys that have played for the Tigers. They go into the NFL and they have great careers. So Trey is going to bring some of that, but Vincent, you know all about it as well.
Today, I'd like to say thank the audience of 100 Yards of Football. Today is probably one of the most proudest days of my life, of course, to have family joining me today. And all I can say is much blessings to my nephew, Trey, for joining us today, to be with a very talented group of people. Logan Landers, 11-year veteran, and yourself, Mr. Harper Lavelle, by way of California. That's right, audience out there. He's from Notre Dame High School, and he played in the league 11 years. So don't get jealous. Let's put on this show today here on 100 Yards of Football. Back to you, Harper.
Well, let's get right to it. Trey, let's begin with your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If there's anything about the Steeler fans that I've known for years and years and years, is that they're always so good that they end up drafting in the 20s or 30s. When they're not winning the Super Bowl itself, getting into the playoffs and advancing has been what many Steeler fans would say a detriment. They never get a chance to pick in the top 10. And in a way, it's kind of a nice little badge of honor to say, yeah, we're always good. But tell me how important free agency becomes for Steeler Nation, because the ability for you to pick up a guy, especially with the contracts or not being able to renegotiate with the player, how important that becomes in signing folks from other parts of the league and manipulating your roster, massaging it a little bit, but bringing in the talent that you need. What does that mean to you as a Steeler fan?
Well, I think it's very important because, like as you said, we're always picking towards the end, so you might not get the top end talent. So if you can sign a big name free agent or even smaller free agents to fill in key roles, it makes drafting not less important, but like you don't have to worry about trying to grab a major key piece. So as for Pittsburgh, which is kind of funny how before Omar Khan came here, they really didn't sign big name free agents or really make a lot of splash moves. So I'm kind of new to this, like trading for DK Metcalf, or last year signing Patrick Queen from the Ravens. So it's a new territory for me as far as that's concerned. But I think doing these things help you be able to fine tune angles so that you know what you got to work on or try to get through the draft.
Yeah, last year at this time, didn't have the quarterback in place. You go out and you sign 2. You get a late signing with Russell Wilson. You bring in Justin Fields. It doesn't appear that either one of those are going. What is your anticipation now for the Steelers, at least at that position? Let's start with the QB spot.
Well, interesting enough, this morning they re-signed Mason Rudolph. So they're either going to let him be the starter, or I guess their hope is he could be the backup. But as far as my thought process, I'm cool with Aaron Rodgers because that's the top that, how everybody's saying either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. I personally don't really want Russell Wilson back. I feel like it'll be a stagnant move. I would like to, see change. But what I really hope they do, I hope that they go and draft Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. I feel like a young player is something they need to move into the direction of being young so they could try to find a franchise, because a 41-year-old quarterback is not going to be your franchise quarterback.
Nope.
Or 39.
Nope.
Or,
You're just borrowing him, right? You're going to borrow him for a year or two. And if you were to do what the Falcons did last year, get a free agent signee and then a draft pick that you like, a kid that's going to come in and take over the reins in the next 2, 3, 5 years, he'll be that guy that you hopefully have a Pro Bowl status relationship with. But for right now, Mason, as you said, is the only guy there. What I have right now, if you don't mind me saying so, I'm going to look down at my sheet. Pittsburgh has approximately, this is of yesterday, $48 million, and they've only got $3.5 million in dead money. So I think they've done a great job of managing the cap. And even though we've got a situation right now where there's more money involved, a lot of folks have not done a great job with their cap. Here in Atlanta, it's kind of a struggle. The Saints are they don't have much money. There's a couple other teams that I'll bring up as we go through this. But again, one of the great features that the Steelers have been able to do is to manage the money. And sometimes that's at the cost of letting a few of your star players go.
Yeah. They always have managed the money, I feel like, well, because they kind of, like I said, recently have been able to spend a little bit more because they used to have Ben Roethlisberger, who, big free time quarterback. So he's commanding a lot of the money. So Omar Khan has done a great job of being able to reconstruct contracts and flip money here and finagle and win and do his they call him the con artist, his money tracking to be able to do things in free agency. So
you got some big name guys and T.J. Watt. He's about $30 million against the cap. Micah Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward, Alex Highsmith. The Metcalf issue it's big. It's $18 million at least against the cap for this year. But he certainly fills a tremendous void that any team would be able to benefit from with his speed, with his strength, his ability to go over the middle. The 50-50 ball is his in most cases. Obviously, you're delighted to have a guy like him on the team.
For sure. And you pair him with George Pickens, who, again, a 50-50 monster. Really, it's like 80-20. What was they be saying? 80-20 in his own right. Dynamic. So you both got two number ones. And then you pair him with Pat Prime, who I personally think is an underrated tight end. Yeah, does some small work. And then they lost Najee in free agency to the Chargers. But they picked up Kenneth Gainwell. Shout out to 901. They got Jalen Warren. So they got a lot of weapons. And then I've heard there's rumors that they might be trying to get Cooper Kupp too. So,
oh goodness. Well, that'll cost another pretty penny. But the good news is that you've got it now. Even after the Metcalf thing, it's still at $48.3 million. So because that was a trade, we're gonna have to figure out how to manage the money there with that. And you look at last year, remember when Denver releases Russell Wilson, the great majority of that cap money was on Denver's books, not with Pittsburgh. So you're able to take advantage of that situation. And it only cost a couple $1 million, if I'm not mistaken, to bring him in, because the great majority of what the quarterback would demand was being paid for by his previous team. But again, we'll look at Aaron Rodgers or who else would you say that's out on the market would be another guy that you got to bring in if you're not going to draft somebody? And by the way, if you have a draft pick, there's plenty of running backs. Boy, the kid out of Ohio State would be a great addition for you if you could pick him up in the second or third round. That'd be amazing if he's still there. But running back is obviously a need offensively. What about the offensive line? You happy with where you are there now?
I actually am, because I think they're very young, because they drafted two first-round tackles over the last 2 years, and if Fautano got hurt, it was hurt basically the entire year. So, and they had played Broderick out of position. He's playing right tackle instead of being in his natural position at left tackle. So I actually think that they're at a good spot, because I like Mason McCormick at his San Diego State. South Dakota State. So I like Frazier. I personally thought that he could have been a Pro Bowler, the center. So I actually like where they're at. And Silmao is a good veteran. If they sign another or draft a guard to be like just the little depth pieces or even battle with Mason, I'm cool with that. Um, so that off in the line, I'm actually okay with that with them as far as that. Um, Quarterback is the main thing. Like as I told you, I would want them to get Jackson Dart if cool if possible. Like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, the two names that everyone's kind of talking about. And Omar kind of does. You never know what he's going to do. I heard stories that they might try to trade for Kyler Murray, but it's all speculation. So um, I need the other thing that I think they need to focus on because they got corners. So they signed Darius Slay. They signed the boy from the Jets, uh, Ellers. I think his last name is Ellers. They signed him. So the cornerback secondary is kind of retuned, refined. But I like to get defensive linemen. They need defensive linemen because they released Larry Ogunjobi. Cam Hayward's getting older, so they need just so I think more so refine that and then hopefully maybe even throwing another wide receiver in there is cool with me.
Okay. Well, the good news is that you got the money to do that, and then again, you are going to need a replacement for Najee Harris, and there's a lot of talent. I'm looking right now at some of the top, and this is draft picks, not free agency. But if Ashton Gente is available, Marion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, I was Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State. That dude he's a beast, and he sure proved himself to me. But Tennessee, I'm sure that has something to do with Vincent and his thought process with Dylan Sampson. A lot of great runners that are out there, guys that can really make a difference. Cam Scatabo might be a kid that comes in and really makes a name for himself if they're available, probably second or third round. A lot of great guys that can run, and that's the neat thing about it is you don't have to reach. There's somebody that might be able to fall right into your hands.
Yeah, Ohio State got two of them. They got Quinshawn Judkins too. So you got two of them that you can get around the same area in about late third, fourth round. So,
all right, well, let's get real now. You're in a tough division. So, what do you think the Ravens? What are the Bengals? What are the Browns going to do? Browns have some money. They've had some problems in the past. Are they going to improve to the point, especially through free agency, to where they can be competitive again?
I guess we'll start with the Browns because the Browns probably made one of the bigger moves as far as re-signing Myles Garrett into the largest defensive player contract at $40 million a year.
Yep.
They actually are in on the Russell Wilson deal, so I think he's supposed to be headed there for a visit. So if they with Russell Wilson, you get at least a solid quarterback as improvement from last year, and with Deshaun going down with injury. And then Jameis, even though I like Jameis, but he had his own struggles with pick sixes and all that.
Yep.
And so they actually traded for Kenny Pickett. So like they kind of nipping off the Pittsburgh a little bit. So I feel like they're always decently well-rounded. They got the second pick in the draft, so they can either get a quarterback that gets your door. They could go the Travis Hunter route. They can go do a Carter. So the Browns have a lot of things they could do to bolster their team because they have talent. Talent is not shy in Cleveland. As far as the Bengals fine-tuned. Defensively, they got to figure out what the Trey Henderson situation.
Yeah,
they need to sign Jamar. If you're a Bengals fan out there, tell them to sign Jamar. He's the second best one. He might be number one. Him and Jettis be going head and head. So sign him. That's the first thing you need to do is sign him. You don't want him to slip away or anything. They already kind of dealt with the T. Higgins situation a little bit. So as long as you got Joe Burrow, the Bengals are always going to be a problem. Then obviously the Ravens got Lamar, and I hate to say it, they're the best team right now in the AFC North. So they've done their own little fine tuning. They got D-Hop to try to get Lamar even another weapon. Their defense is always going to be top tier. And even if it's not to the quality that you might want it to be, they work throughout the year because even last year they were the worst pass out defense, And then towards the end of the year, they were one of the best. So
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of turn things around there defensively to the point where they go, we're going to stay in just about every game that we can because our defense is going to do it. Now it's just up to the offense to do their part, and they got a chance to beat anybody. I mentioned the Browns. Browns have the number one. The number that they have, their total cap is over 300 million. They didn't spend all their money last year, so with the rollover and everything like that. But they're also number one in dead cap money. It's unbelievable how much. Well, actually, they're not number one, but they're up there. San Francisco is number one. They've got $76 million in dead money, and then Seattle, same division, they are number two with 67. So they're still eating some contracts from last year, and that's certainly a big issue. Baltimore only has 4.6 million right now, so they're not going to make a whole lot of splashes in the in the free agency world this year, at least in my opinion. Trey, before I finish up with the AFC North, Vincent, your thoughts in particular about the Steelers and the tradition that they have, the amazing history, but their ability to just remain relevant every year. And the rivalry really between them and Cincinnati is one that's unrivaled, in my opinion. Just goes back so many different years of great football between them and the Steelers' prowess. Even though you're a Cowboy fan, you have to admit that the Steeler Nation has grown over the years because the team just continues to be successful and win on Sundays.
I have to say this. I love what Pittsburgh is at. And if you look all the way back to tradition of the Steelers, they've been doing this drafting well. I think they've only had 3 coaches in their history: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and then you bring on Mike Tomlin, and all of them put years in. But what really has amazed me about the Steelers, no matter who they've had as a GM, them being able to have a keen eye in the drafting room. And if you go back when they built the Super Bowl teams in the 70s, they had Bill Nunn. Then under Bill Cowher, they were still always able to draft. And they always seem to get one player that goes above everything that you think coming out of the draft. You go back to the Steelers of the 70s. Mel Blount was that player to me. Then you go in Bill Cowher. Hines Ward was that player. And now you're looking what they're doing now with the Steelers. T.J. Watt has become that player. We never thought T.J. Watt was going to be the type of defensive player he was. But what I like about the Steelers, I think, as my nephew said, they get the right piece at the quarterback position. They're going to be a serious football team. And if they get Cooper Kupp to go along who they got now, and they draft a running back, as you said, Hawk, because this is a deep draft for running backs.
It is.
Omar Hampton, Trayvon Henderson, Quishon Junkins. But I tell you a name, you just said, Hawk, that we love here 100 yards football, and he proved us wrong. The young man out there in Tempe. What's his name, Hawk? Who put on the show in the Peach Bowl?
Cam Scattergood.
There you go. I'm considering him the second coming of Rocky Bleier, but more athletic ability. But the Steelers, I think, are going to be all right. I think they're going to be a team that's going to challenge for a Super Bowl appearance if they get the quarterback position right. And they are in a tough division. The Ravens are the best team, but I don't think the Steelers are that far off. That's just my personal opinion. Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah, I think that's Trey, if you don't mind me saying so, that's such a critical piece for any team. The good news is you've got some money to be able to bring in Aaron Rodgers, even though you're going to borrow him for a year or two. And then if Jackson Dart is the signee, you're going to say, well, we brought in Mason. It wasn't really a cost prohibitive move, right? Mason's signing isn't going to set you back a lot. He's really there to be the backup guy, right?
yes, that's
because it's a 2-year deal. I don't have the term. Yes, it's 2 years. I don't have the particulars on that number, but it's going to be a cap friendly number.
I saw it's 2 years, 4.5 a year.
No, that's stealing right there. Yeah, that's he's just keeping his job and wants the clipboard. So I think that strategy, again, not mimicking or following in any way, but at least the idea behind what the Falcons did last year. We're going to get a starter right now, and we'll probably pay a little bit more than we need to. Hopefully it is a cap friendly number. Would you do 2 years with Rodgers if you were able to bring him in?
Yeah, because I mean, I would probably he gonna want guaranteed money though, probably throughout. But if it was me, if I could find a way to have that second year somewhat non-guaranteed, so that you know if you don't want to bring him back, because he's already talking about contemplating retirement again.
Yeah.
But I would also say if you bring in Cooper Kupp, you really just need a competent quarterback, because then you have talent everywhere. Because even with Sam Darnold, I think he had a great year last year, but I think a lot of it's because he went to Minnesota where they had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. Their offensive line was solid, so they had weapons everywhere. All he had to do was just not mess up, basically, and just get the ball into his playmakers' hands.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing in Pittsburgh, especially, like I said, if you get Cooper Kupp. You have already 2 elite receivers, as I've mentioned before.
Well, you were a young man probably when Ben Roethlisberger first got the job there. Here's this rookie, the young guy out of Miami of Ohio, and I believe the offensive coordination for Ben Roethlisberger at that time is just don't give the ball away. All right. We know you've got a big arm, but don't go out of your way to try to make. We'll punt. We're good enough to where we can do that. We're okay. Just don't give the ball away. Don't give the game away, and everything's going to be just fine. And how'd that work out for the Steelers? It wasn't perfect every year, but obviously Ben will have a statue someday for the success that he had there. So something similar. And even if it is Jackson Dart or if Shador is available, I'm not sure whether or not you go for him, if he's the type of guy that you want there in Pittsburgh. But obviously the need there for a quarterback of the future, and not having one right now, even though Mason Rudolph has a 2-year deal, that's still an open slot, correct?
Yes, for sure. So,
all right. Well, let's move around the league. You mentioned Cooper Kupp. Let's go out west. Let's talk a little bit about the 49ers, if you wouldn't mind. The Seattle Seahawks. You let Metcalf go. You bring in a new quarterback, Geno Smith, who had a pretty good year from a statistical standpoint. What do you see happening out there in the West, and who do you think would be the lead dog right now in terms of being in position to win that division? Would it be the Rams? I'm not sure where the Cardinals stand. What's your opinion out West?
I think right now it's the Rams still. The Rams, because the 49ers are going through it. What's funny, I always talk to my dad, and we were always like, how are they able to sign everybody? Because if you think about it, they had like the highest paid middle linebacker in Fred Warner. They had the highest paid running back in Christian McCaffrey. They had one of the highest paid in wide receivers in Brandon Ayuk. They had the highest paid defense. They had the highest paid everything. So I was like, how are they able to sign everybody? So now it's kind of biting them in the butt now where they have to trade Debo, release him. They released, I got it right here. They released Ernest Jones. No. They released, where is it? Why am I blanking? They released a bunch. I know that it's kind of, they did a lot. They trade Debo. They lost Tafunga, their safety, to free agents, to the Broncos. They lost Greenlaw to the Broncos, their other middle linebacker. They're looking to trade Brandon Ayuk again. So they're going through a lot, but they still got talent. So they're going to be. They're not going to be bad by any stretch of the imagination, I don't think. But I think the Rams building, they resigned with them keeping Stafford. That always helps you. Top 10 quarterback, top 5 maybe some people's eyes. The Devontae Adams signing helps. But even just mentoring Puka Nacua, who I think is a very good up and coming wide receiver. Their defense is young, so they're young and upcoming with Jared Verse and Jared Verse. I'm blanking on the tackle.
Let's go back to San Francisco real quick. I just pulled up their numbers. So their total cap is $308 million. Again, they didn't spend everything last year, and they're being penalized. Their dead cap space, number one in the league, $76.8 million. going to players that aren't on that team anymore. It's a tremendous percentage. They're number one in the league. They have $44 million that they've cleared in cap space right now, so they can make some moves. Fred Warner is their number one cap hit right now, $29.1 million against the cap this year for him. George Kittle, $22 million. Trent Williams, who had that renegotiation they did last year. Nick Bosa, he's up at $20 million. Trent was $21 million. Brandon Ayuk is 11. I think Christian McCaffrey is at 9.6 for this year. Brock Purdy at 5.3. Brock Henry, if I'm not mistaken, this is the last year of his rookie deal. So going from Mr. Irrelevant to where they're going to have to open some money up for him. If they sign him early and do an extension on that, that's going to be critical. But everybody else in the West is struggling from a cap perspective, like Seattle is. That's the first opponent that I have. But the Rams, they've cleared some space, obviously, with Cooper being let go. Very interesting how that's going to turn out for all those teams there. I apologize for interrupting you. I know you were still talking about the Rams.
No, it's all right. I kind of was hopping them throughout the whole division because just kind of trying to share everybody a little love. The Cardinals, I actually haven't really followed the Cardinals too much, but I mean the Cardinals are always one of those sneaky teams where they could be a good team or they could be a bad team. You never know the Cardinals, but as long as they have Kyler Murray, he's a solid quarterback. Their defense is always usually solid, so they're going to be someone you got to worry, at least not just push aside. And I like Marvin Harrison Jr., so they got a weapon. They Trey McBride, their tight end. So the Cardinals are always going to be someone that you got to worry about. And then the Seahawks, again, they're in the same boat as, like you said, with the 49ers as far as like they let go of a lot of things. They trade DK. They let go of Tyler Lockett. So they traded Geno, even though they just signed Sam Bradford. So
okay, I'm just throwing this out there real quick, Trey, if you don't mind me asking. Do the Cardinals need to consider bringing in a Jalen Milroe, a Kyle McCord, a Dylan Gabriel, a Tyler Show, in the third or fourth round to if Kyler Murray isn't able to be the guy for the future? I mean, you've invested a tremendous amount of money into him, but is that something that they should think about now, or is that am I an idiot for going to that length with them? Because we all know how critical the quarterback position is, and the Cardinals, as you just mentioned, a lot of offensive talent around it, and they're just not able to do it consistently.
I wouldn't hate it, because even though Kyler is young, he has shown that he has problems. That can he take you to where you want to be? So I wouldn't hate that. That's not a terrible decision to go and just have an insurance plan, And even Kyler has some injury problems here and there. So it's a fairly decent quarterback. Like I like a backup that could potentially become a starter quarterback draft. So sure. I wouldn't hate it if I was a Cardinal fan.
Hey, Vincent, real quick, trivia question. There's no wrong answer, although I know what the answer is. I'm going to ask you Matthew Stafford's cap number. Do you have any idea what his 1 year 2025 number is?
$50 million.
Man, you're almost there. You're close. It's 49.6. I did not know that it was nearly that high. Vincent, how many shows of 100 yards of football will we need to do in order to get $50 million worth of revenue out of that? Oh my gosh.
I would say this. The direction we're going after today, and based on how social media is going,
all right,
be a one-hit wonder overnight. Just look what Stephen A. just signed with ESPN. I never thought they'd have somebody on air that signed a $100 million deal. Not a personality.
Yeah. Well, 100 million, that's 50 for you and $5 for me. We're going to work that out somewhere or another. But 49.666667 is Matthew Stafford's, and Cooper Kupp is 29. Everything below that, they still have $28 million. The Rams do. They have $22 million in dead cap space, but Kevin Dotson, Devontae Adams, Rob Havenstein, Tyler Higbee. They're all at, some of them are making in the multi 8, 9, 10, $11 million range, but they definitely have a group of guys there that are making well under 10 that you can build a solid core around. And Trey, if you don't mind me saying so, one discussion I was having with my son is, who's going to take the Don Shula, Bill Belichick numbers, the NFL's greatest of all times. And Sean McVay is in line to do that. As long as he doesn't burn out or anything like that, you get another young coach, you get 8, 9, 10, 11 wins a year. Next thing you know, before he's got super gray hair and not able to run around as much as he does now. Have you given any thought to that? Mike Tomlin's moved his way up the list, getting 10 every year. There's an interesting perspective in terms of who's going to be the coach that can give that NFL record a run for its money.
You think you forgot about one that I think you still got something to say about is Andy Reid over there in Kansas City. He got three Super Bowls, so and they win 10 plus games every year. It seems like as long as you got Patrick Mahomes, you're probably going to always win 10 plus games. But as far as you guys speak about Sean McVay, I don't see why not. He's still young. Look like he's kicking. Even when I thought the Rams were going to be a down year, he had them in the playoff race. Even last year, they made the playoffs. So,
his ability to motivate his team, absolutely amazing. All right, well, let's sum it up. We can't do every single team, but in terms of this show, so we talked a little bit about Pittsburgh, talked a little bit about your rivals there as a Steeler. Anyone in particular sticking out to you right now, at least at this point? Maybe next week it'll be different, but for right now, who do you think gets an A+ from Trey Sims?
I have two teams, but I will start with the Minnesota Vikings because I like the Minnesota Vikings. They had a great year last year, actually. So with Sam Darnold, they moved on from him, obviously, but I think I like JJ McCarthy. I think that he's going to be good, and they're also in the running for Aaron Rodgers as well. So if they add him, I think that's same position as Sam Darnold was when you have all the weapons they have. But they did a lot. They added a Ryan Kelly as a center. The 2 years, $18 million. That helps to bolster your offensive line even more. They went and got 2 defensive tackles that I really like with Jonathan Allen from Washington at 3 years, $60 million. And they also got Javon Hargraves at 2 years, $30 million. So that bolsters your defensive line even more with I'm blanking on the name, but they had a great defense, as we know, with what's my guy's name? The defensive coordinator that everyone likes.
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores. Yeah. So I like them. They went and got another offensive guard, Will Fries, with 5 years, $88 million. So they're working on both sides in the interior, which, as we know, that if you don't have offensive line, it helps. It doesn't help your offense at all because you can't throw it to the wide receiver if you can't block. You can't run if you can't block. And on the opposite end, the defensive line, you get pressure on the quarterback that can completely disrupt the offense as Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And they have such a great home crowd advantage, the home field advantage. That place, it turns purple. They love it. They've been very patient over the decades since the Minnesota Vikings in the 70s went to those 4 Super Bowls. They lose all 4 of them. But Viking fans have been just waiting patiently, as I said, year after year for an opportunity to get back. A lot of frustrations there, but they're getting close again. That's your one team. Who's the other that you wanted to bring up, Trey?
The other one is the Bears, the Chicago Bears. I like them.
They made some noise, haven't they?
They have. They've done a lot. Again, both of their offensive line traded for Jonah Jackson from the Rams, and then they also traded for Joe Thuney from the Chiefs to both play the inside guard, protect Caleb Williams. If you give him time, he's shown that he can win games. He has talent, as we all knew. So you give him time to be able to make reads and do what he has to do.
Well, Drew Dolman also from the Falcons. They made that negotiation clear on Monday. of this week. Here it is Thursday, but that signing officially took place yesterday. So yeah, 3 big pieces to their offensive line, and they've drafted tackles in the past. They're probably still going to take one in the first round from what I'm hearing. They've got a couple of guys in mind. Will Campbell being one of them. Go ahead and finish up. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
Yeah, you're good. And then they also signed edge help. They signed Grady Jarrett. Edge help. I'm going to butcher his name, so I don't really. Is Dio Obadiabo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I did that right. He signed for 3 years, $48 million, and then like I said, Grady Jarrett at 3 years, $43.5 million. Excuse me. So they again work in the trenches. You work the trenches, build from the inside out, and they already had a decent secondary, and then they have Roma Duzay and
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Yep. So again, and they got Cole Kmet. So again, working for the inside out, helping your quarterback, helping the team in general. I think they also had a very good offseason so far.
Yeah, there were times where Caleb was running for his life, but when you gave him time to throw, his statistics were pretty good. They weren't as good as they were in college, but he had All-Americans all around him at USC for a couple of years, and for obvious reasons, the Heisman Trophy went to him because he can make those big plays. It's just he can't do it when you're on your back, at least not when you're going against the Vikings, the Packers, and then, of course, the improved Lions. Anything that the Detroit Lions have done that sticks out to you right now?
They did. They signed DJ Reed.
Yeah.
DJ Reed was, I think, the number 1 corner out in the free agency, and I'm going to say they needed secondary help, but it definitely doesn't hurt. And then they basically kind of just fine-tune a couple of things. They didn't have to do too much, because I think the Lions will be right back, try to contend to be a Super Bowl contender. So,
I'm wearing the Honolulu blue, but not for that specific reason. But they were absolutely devastated with injuries last year, and how they were able to piece together. I'm surprised, Trey, you didn't get a call. They were bringing guys in from Foot Locker and guys that were laying bricks and driving trucks. Next thing you know, they're in a game uniform playing for the Lions. That's how bad the roster got for them in terms of injuries and not being able to keep guys on the field.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they had like 20 injuries on defense. It felt like someone would come back and someone would leave, and then they were dealing with it last year. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, final thoughts, Vincent. This will be a good first show. Trey, thank you for being a part of it. We'll get to you just a second. But Vincent, any final thoughts here on this first week of free agency?
You forgot one thing, both of you gentlemen, about Sean McVay. Sean McVay, if he loses his lead man and Les Snead as the GM, then he might not be close to that record. Les Snead, I think, needs to get kudos for being maybe the best GM in all of football. In my final words, dumb Bears. Man, what it means for the Chicago Bears to come down here and steal 2 good football players from where we live at heart with the Atlanta Falcons and Grady Jarrett and Drew Dalman. Kudos to what the Bears done. Nephew.
Yeah, they had to make a move, and they did, and all these things are cap friendly, and their roster will be significantly different. And we're going to what a competitive division that's going to be next year. Trey, final thoughts from you. First couple of days of free agency are in the books. Main surprises or anything that you're looking forward to here in the next couple of days?
Like I said, I look as a Steeler fan, I'm looking for a quarterback. That's a long-term solution, or maybe even just a solution for the next 2 years to see who's going to really be throwing. Look to see where Cooper Kupp actually ends up going. I guess the quarterback situations in general. Where does Russell Wilson go? Where does Aaron Rodgers go? But as a whole, I bet that's been a very entertaining so far for agency period. So.
Okay, Trey, here's my trivia question for you. This is a hypothetical, but if you sign Cooper Kupp, who's going to get more boos out of the crowd? Will it be Cooper Kupp when he gets a coop when they do that, or Pat Freiermuth when he makes a catch? That's good, and they're going to have to do something for Metcalf because he's going to get jealous. You're going to need 4 footballs to keep everybody happy.
It's probably still going to be Muth because he's been there longer and he's homegrown. but Cooper would definitely get a coup. So he definitely will get one when he catches the.
His first trip into the end zone or a big catch over the middle. Yeah, absolutely. That'll be awesome. Yeah, you may even get some of the old timers to participate in that. Well, thank you, Trey, for being a part of our show here today. We really appreciate the expertise and the knowledge that you bring in. And we'll look forward to other shows that we do with you, especially here during free agency, obviously with the draft and some of the top picks that are coming up with that. So for Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, for Vincent Turner, our founder and co-host, we appreciate you being a part of today's NFL Frenzy show. We thank you for being a part of that. And in addition to the 100 yards of football, I'm Harper Lavelle, wishing everybody a great and fantastic rest of your day.